They shouldn't have given you Ashy Blokes YouTube.
Oh man, hilarious, man. I'll put the links in the description. ArtToForte, man, he had me cracking up about hiring millennials. And it was so funny because in a way it's so on point. I mean, there's some good millennials out there, don't get me wrong. They're hardworking, they do, they're creative, they're all that stuff. But the vast majority of them, man, they are spoiled, entitled little brats. And the vast majority, my kids included. Jeez. It's like if you want them to have a job, you almost have to go out and bring and have them fill out the application in front of you. It's hilarious. But it got me to thinking, because I see all these memes by sometimes Gen Xers and millennials and stuff, like blaming the baby boomers for ruining the black community, or just blaming baby boomers, period. Even though if it wasn't for the baby boomers, most millennials would be in the streets, starving. They'd be homeless because they're still at home. With that being said, it just came to mind is just, why don't just millennials just admit it? Just come out and admit it. I know it's morbid. I know that you say it under your breath all the time. Just admit it. You're waiting for the baby boomers to die and leave you everything. The house, the insurance policies, with cash, whatever. You're just waiting, you're just standing over like vultures, because you know that all these old motherfuckers are in their, late 50s, 60s, and some of them in their 70s, and they're just ready to slip off that banana peel into the grave right then and there. And you know what you're gonna do? You're not even gonna bury them. You're gonna cremate them and save that money, and you're gonna go out and blow it on something. And then you're gonna come in and take the house and whatnot and say, "Oh, I finally have a house because my parents finally died, or my grandparents finally died, and they left me the house. So now I own something. Not that I had to work for it, not that I had to do anything for it. I just bided my time and waited until they kicked the bucket, and now it's all mine." Because that's really all it is. It's not that we didn't make your life better, or we didn't improve upon your opportunities, or give you all these opportunities by sending you to school and helping you rack up all this debt and getting you tutors and all that, driving you to school and all that other crap that we did when you were kids that we didn't get to do. But the millennials had to come back and live my childhood, man. They'd have a meltdown and be calling Child Protective Services. But yeah, I just noticed when they say, well, the baby boomers, the baby boomers ruined the black community, and we wouldn't be in this position if the baby boomers had been better parents, or didn't or raised your children and didn't have children out of wedlock. They never take into consideration that the black baby boomers did not run the country. We did not put ourselves out of work. We did not flood our community with drugs or guns or initiate welfare or any of the other stuff that happened. We didn't vote all that stuff in. We didn't write the civil rights laws. In fact, the civil rights laws and affirmative action laws were probably halfway undone well before you were even born. We didn't even get to enjoy the stuff. So you're blaming us for something we didn't get to enjoy. As far as liking white people or whatever it is, I don't get, because I was a kid, all right? I was a kid just as civil rights was coming in. And my mother lived under Jim Crow. My parents lived under Jim Crow. There was no Andy and Mayberry when they were kids. My grandmother was alive. There wasn't no Andy and Mayberry. There was no, black, my neighbor lived in Black Wall Street. He's from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He lived under Black Wall Street. He lived under, they rebuilt that town after they destroyed it and burnt it down. They rebuilt that town. And what he said is they built a highway through it, which is what actually killed Tulsa, Oklahoma. It wasn't integration. Integration had something to do with it. But the thing is, they built a highway through it. with Black Wall Street. We didn't ruin it. All the businesses that you had that were black, yeah, you had some businesses in some black cities. The vast majority of black people went hungry. They were living in shacks. They were living in poor housing. They were living in slums. That wasn't caused by integration. The vast majority of black people before the 1950s and the 1960s, 60 to 70% of black people lived in poverty. 3/4 before the 1940s, 80% of black people lived in the South under Jim Crow. They weren't enjoying themselves. They weren't in no northern cities, in Black Harlem or like I said, or any of those other places. They was in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and all Georgia, and all those Texas, and all those other Jim Crow states, living under those crackers in the KKK. But you need somebody you need somebody to blame because your life is not going the way you think it is, right? Because all you millennials, okay, you leading edge millennials in your 30s now, like my son. He's born in 86. And so you millennials are born in like 84, 85, 86. We're getting into your 30s, right? And you only got, you only got 5 or 6, you only got maybe 8 to 10 years before you're 40. If you get to be 40, you're staring retirement in the face. You'll be halfway through your adult years. Actually, you're almost halfway through your adult years and you haven't accomplished shit. For the most part, I'm not saying everybody, but for the vast majority of millennials, they're halfway through they're in their 30s, ain't married, don't have kids, fucked up careers and all that other kind of stuff. Ain't done shit. What have the millennials actually really done? Well, they said, the baby boomers didn't do shit. Baby boomers out there protesting and fighting for civil rights at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. The Black Panthers, the famous Black Panthers that everybody talks about, that everybody lobbies about, the legendary Black Panthers, were 18, 19, and 20 years old. College students with a whole movement that still reverberates today. They're all SNCC. Those were all 15, 16, and 17-year-old kids. They were kids, not 30-year-olds. You guys are 30. In hell, Martin Luther King started leading the Montgomery bus strike when he was 24. Malcolm X was leading the Nation of Islam, hell, when he was 30. He was already Malcolm X. He was already raising hell in Harlem by the time he was 30. W. Du Bois was in his 20s. Marcus Garvey was leading the whole nation, the UNIA movement in his 20s. You got to remember, Martin Luther King wasn't 40 yet when he died, when he was shot, and he had a good a damn near 20 years in civil rights. These weren't old men. These weren't people in their 60s. These were people in their 20s. All the boomers were doing something in their 20s. Hell, all the boomers were expected to do something. Hell, we were expected to start doing something when we were 16, 17 years old. We didn't have to wait till we're 30 to grow up. We were expected to grow up at 16. And you blame boomers for your life. Y'all ain't never had a hard day in your life. Most of y'all ain't never went hungry. Half of you guys never walked to school, not even 5 blocks. So just admit it. It ain't that you're mad. It ain't that the boomers fucked up. You're waiting on us to die. That's all. You're waiting on us to die so you can take our jobs, take our houses and our cars and where else we had, and whatever wealth we have, and you can have it. Because like Tone Talk says, 80% of the wealth in the black community is locked up with the boomers. And as soon as the boomers die, then you'll have 80% of the wealth. Because that's what you're waiting on. That's all. Just waiting on us to kick the bucket. You just don't want to say it. Admit it. If you admit it, you're waiting on boomers to die so you can grab their stuff, then you'll be cleansed. You'll be happy. be blood money, but y'all don't care. Anyway, it's just hilarious, man. Just woosah, woosah, embrace the fuckery. Well, then I'm gonna get out of here, man. That's just hilarious. This is just a quick drop. Shout out to ArtToForte, man, for posting that. It was hilarious, man. If you're a boomer or you're a late Gen X or you ever work with millennials, you know what I'm talking about, man. The only thing they didn't show was that them staring at their phone while they work, but it is hilarious. I think the millennials will get their shit together, man. Hopefully before they get 50, but I think they'll get their shit together. I'll see you guys on the next one. I gotta get ready for my hangout.